let's get going.
Where the IELTS reading test starts to get a bit more challenging. The vocabulary is more difficult and the questions often require more time to complete. In this second video in this 3-part series, I'm going to go through a full passage 2 with you step by step. We're going to look at strategies to answer the questions as quickly as possible, especially matching headings questions, which a lot of students find difficult, but they're actually quite easy. Now, before we get started, if you're preparing for IELTS, make sure you check out our preparation course in the description below, because it's going to teach you everything you need to know to get a band 7 or higher in every single part. All right, let's have a look at our reading passage 2. All right, so here is our reading passage 2. As you can see, it's called The Terracotta Army of Qin Shi Huang. Now, I hope I said that correctly. I can't say I'm fluent in Chinese. Now, when you get your passage 2, the first thing you can do is skim the passage if you like. If you do so, you shouldn't very long. You should do it within about 30 seconds because you don't have much time. Now, for the purposes of this video, we're not going to do that. We're just going to go straight down to the questions. So here they are, questions 14 to 20. Reading passage 2 has 7 paragraphs, A to G. Choose the correct heading for each paragraph from the list of headings below. Write the correct number, 1 to 10, in boxes 14 to 20 on your answer sheet. Now, this here is very important because it's telling you what to do and what not to do. You need to write a number as your answer. You don't need to write the full name of the heading. So always be careful of that. Now, as you can see, here are the headings. We've got 9 different headings to choose from. And then down here are the questions. We have 7 different questions and 7 different paragraphs. So let's start with the first question, which is question 14. It's about paragraph A. So when you're doing matching headings questions, you can start by reading the paragraph itself. Think about the main ideas and then give a title or a name or a heading to that paragraph. So let me show you what I mean. Let's look at paragraph A. The Terracotta Army is one of the most remarkable discoveries in Chinese history. So it's saying that this Terracotta Army is amazing. It's great. It's very important. These life-size figures, created to guard, they have become deeply connected with the country's cultural identity, even though similar burial customs existed, While much has been written about the army's purpose, it remains one of the most fascinating achievements of the ancient world. Its creation marked a major moment in Chinese history, and it all began with the vision of Emperor Qin Shi Huang. So this bit here, it looks quite small, but it could be important. So if you have a look at this paragraph, the main idea is that this Terracotta Army is amazing. It's very important. And it all started with a thought from the Emperor Qin Shi Huang. So if I was going to give a title, I'd call it something like this: An amazing thing from a vision.
Loving Voxy Mobile's triple data this spring.
And it's only a tenner.
That's less than your daily coffees.
Someone hasn't had theirs.
The fun never ends with unlimited data for social media on Voxy Mobile. Selected social apps in UK, T&Cs apply.
So now we know the main ideas and we've made a heading ourselves. We can go down to the headings that were provided. So here they are. So what we need to do is just quickly go through them one by one and think about which is the best choice for paragraph A. So a different approach to royal tombs. No, doesn't really say that. A sudden change in leadership? No. The incredible result of one man's idea? Well, that looks very close to what we talked about, so we'll quickly circle that. Now let's keep going. A large tomb with many security features? Well, no, it doesn't really talk about security. A great experience despite what was left? No. Unusual objects found near the burial site? No. A design style that influenced future rulers? No. Disagreements and architects? No, nothing about that. And problems faced during the project? Well, no, there's nothing about that. So I think we can safely say that the answer for question 14 is 3. So when you have chosen a heading, you can then cross that heading off, and it's going to make it easier for you when you do the next headings because you have less to choose from. So now let's go to the next question, which is 15, and that's about paragraph B. So let's go back up and think about what the main ideas are for this paragraph. So Qin Shi Huang, first emperor. Okay, so maybe it could be more about the emperor this time. Before his reign, the rulers were buried in smaller, simpler tombs. After taking power, Qin Shi Huang ordered the creation that would reflect his status and authority. His most trusted officials are believed to have overseen the planning and construction. Instead of using traditional burial items, the emperor ordered a vast army of life-sized clay figures to be placed underground, arranged as if ready for battle. Though historians cannot say with certainty why the idea was chosen, many believe it was meant to ensure protection. So this could be important. Historians cannot say why this idea was chosen. So when I look at this paragraph, what I think about is it's talking about Qin Shi Huang, so it's talking about the emperor. So I'm going to start with that. So the emperor. And then it talks about that he did things differently. Because look what it says. Instead of using, the emperor ordered. So it's talking about what rulers or emperors normally did, and then it's saying what Qin Shi Huang did. So I'm going to call this paragraph the emperor who did things differently. That's going to be my heading. So now I've got an idea of what this paragraph is about. Let's go back down and let's have a look at the headings, and we can choose the most appropriate one. So the first one, a different approach to royal tombs. Well, that looks good already. A sudden change in leadership? No, nothing about that. A large tomb with security features? No, nothing about security. A great experience despite what was left? No. Unusual objects found near the burial site? No, doesn't talk about that. A design style that influenced future rulers? No. Disagreements, architects? No. And problems faced during the project? No. So I'm happy to say that 15 will definitely be 1, a different approach to royal tombs. So again, we can cross that one out. So now we have less headings to choose from when it comes to the next question. So let's move on and have a look at 16 now, which is about paragraph C. So let's go back up to the paragraphs and see if we can find what paragraph C is about. So the Terracotta Army has been studied for decades. That could be important. Its construction involved a long and demanding process. So this paragraph could be about maybe the problems with construction or the challenges that were faced. Experts believe that the work progressed in phases. Okay, according to historian, the layout of the site shows signs of careful planning. That could be important. Trial and error. Thousands of warriors were made in separate parts. That's quite important. Separate parts and then assembled. Detailed on site. The sheer size, so that means the very big size of the army, presented a lot of challenges, including how to, and then there are some examples. So support the weight, how to organize the production of so many unique figures. So for this one, when I'm thinking about the title or the main ideas, I would think it's something like this: a long
You wouldn't steal a car.
Difficult process. Because that's what it's talking about in very simple terms. It's saying that it was a long process and there were challenges or problems that needed to be solved. So let's go back down now to the headings themselves and let's have a look. So number 2, a sudden change in leadership. Well, no, there's nothing about that. A large tomb with many security features. No. A great experience. No. Unusual objects. No. A design style that influenced future rulers. No, nothing about future rulers. Disagreements, architects. No. Here we go. Problems faced during the project. That looks very close to what we said. So we can go down and put number 9 for question 16. And again, let's cross off number 9 here. So we've got less to look at when it comes to the next questions. Now, please note that sometimes your heading or your summary is not going to be exactly the same as the headings that are provided. So if that happens, you may need to go back to the paragraph again and have a look at the main ideas one more time. So now let's go on to the next question, which is question number 17, and that's paragraph D. So let's see what we can find about the main ideas there. Here it is. So when fully constructed, the Terracotta Army had a vast area, so a very big area. It was the size of a small city, so it's saying it's very, very big. The main sections included horses. The site stretches over 20 square kilometers. So again, it's focusing on the size again. And researchers are still investigating whether it connects. The pits were carefully arranged. Okay, so maybe this could be about the features. Narrow passageways between sections acted as barriers, okay, to slow down intruders. So maybe this is about security. Guards would have been stationed above the tomb. There were traps, maybe hidden defenses were installed to protect the emperor's remains. Qin Shi Huang was so determined to secure his legacy that he insisted of keeping the full design a closely guarded secret. So there are some different ideas in there, but when I think about giving this one a title, what I think of is it's talking about how big the Terracotta Army complex is, and it's also talking about security. So if I was going to give this a title, I'd say something like this. A huge place with lots of protection. Okay, that's the main idea of this paragraph. So let's go back down now and see if there's anything like that in the list of headings. So again, let's quickly go through them one by one. Change in leadership. No, nothing about that. A large tomb. Oh, there we go. A large tomb with many security features. That could be it. A great experience. Well, no, nothing about that. Unusual objects. No. A design style. Future rulers. No. Disagreements. No. So we can safely say that the answer for number 17 is definitely 4. So we can remove number 4 and then move on to the next one. Now, the next one is question 18, and that's talking about paragraph E. So let's go back up and let's see if we can find the main ideas. So the central tomb has never been fully excavated, okay? But ground scanning has revealed a vast chamber, okay? Believed to contain the emperor's remains, okay? There are dozens of passageways, some thought to be filled with treasures, weapons, and valuable items. One of the most intriguing finds, okay, this could be important. One of the most intriguing finds in the surrounding pits has been a collection of bronze birds and acrobats. Okay, that's interesting. Discovered in what appears to be a garden or entertainment space. These items are unusually detailed, okay, far more artistic. So this is sort of saying that these items might be a bit different or strange. So let's keep reading. Their exact function remains unclear. Some archaeologists believe they were included to reflect the emperor's desire, Others suggest Okay, so maybe it's saying that there's some confusion about why these items were there. Others suggest they may have a symbolic meaning, okay, protect the emperor's soul, da da da. Without access to the central tomb, these questions remain open. So for this one, it sort of has two main ideas. The first one is it's saying that there is a lot of equipment. There are a lot of things, or there were a lot of things. And it's also talking about the function of these things or why they were there is not clear to people. So this one could have two headings, I guess, but I'm just going to go with something simple, which is lots of equipment or lots of things. So let's write that in, things. But I'm going to keep in the back of my mind that it also could have another heading because like I told you before, or we just looked at before, it talks about this. Their function remains unclear. Some people think this, other people think that. So I'm just going to keep that in my mind. So let's go back. And once again, same process. Change in leadership. No. Great experience despite what was left. No, doesn't talk about an experience. Unusual objects found near the burial site. Okay, that could be it. A design style that influenced future rulers. No. Disagreements between architects. No. Now, it does talk a little bit about the archaeologists were not in agreement, but it's not talking about architects. So just be careful there. So I think for this one, the best and most appropriate heading would have to be number 6, which is unusual objects found near the burial site. So we can cross that one off. And then let's move on to the next one now, which is question number 19, paragraph F. So let's go back up and have a look. This is a nice short paragraph, so hopefully it shouldn't take too long. Despite the size of the mausoleum and the efforts to protect it, the site did not escape damage. Okay, that could be important. After his death, parts of the complex were looted and set on fire. The emperor's body has never been found, and the original treasures are believed to be lost. Still, what remained throughout the site was enough to amaze the archaeologists who later excavated the area. So for this one, it could be something about damage, and it also could be something about this. Okay, yes, all of these bad things happened. So all parts of the complex were looted and set on fire. There was some damage, but it said the site was enough to amaze archaeologists. So it could be something like damage, but also a good experience or a good thing. So let's go back down, and I believe I remember something about that. A sudden change in leadership, no. A great experience despite what was left. Well, that looks quite good. A design style that influenced future rulers, no. Disagreements between architects, no. So the answer for that one will definitely be 5. So 19 is 5. So we can cross that off. And another thing to mention is that when you look at all of these headings here, a lot of different times, sometimes you will remember them. And because you remember them, you might actually know what the answer is when you're looking at the paragraph. So when I was looking at this paragraph and I saw this amaze the archaeologists, I actually thought about this one here. A great experience despite what was left. And that's one reason why you should go through every heading every time you're looking at a question, because it's going to put those headings into your head and you might actually know the answer while you're looking at the paragraph. Now we've got one more left, which is question number 20, paragraph G. So let's go back up here. It's quite a short one. Historian Duan Qingbo writes, the Terracotta Army stands as the most, or one of the most extraordinary achievements of the ancient world. It reflects not only the power of the first emperor, but also the skill and organization of China. The site marked a new standard that could be important. Its design sets an example that some rulers would follow in the centuries to come. Does this sound important? Well, it sounds important to me because if you remember, that's what one of the headings was talking about. But before we have a look, let's give this paragraph a name. So I would say something like a new type, okay, a new type of tomb or burial site, which, and then I'm just going to copy the words from down here, set an example. Okay, if you're giving or creating your own heading, of course you can copy the words from the passage. It doesn't matter. What's important is that you get a general idea of the meaning of that paragraph. So let's go back down now and have a look. So a sudden change in leadership, no. A design style that influenced future rulers, yes, most likely. Disagreements between architects, no. So we can go down there and write number 7. And we don't have to, but we can cross this off anyway. So I hope that was helpful and it showed you exactly how to do matching headings questions. As you can see, they're not that difficult if you have a strategy. So let's go down now to the next set of questions. Here they are, questions 21 to 24. Complete the notes below. Choose one word only from the passage for each answer. Write your answers in boxes 21 to 24 on your answer sheet. So 2 important things there are one word only, okay? One word only. So if you choose something like red cat, well, obviously that's going to be wrong because that's 2 words. So always be careful to read the instructions. And it also says from the passage. So that means, let's pretend you're reading the passage and you think death is the correct word. Well, you don't need to change that to die or died. Okay, you just use that same word, death. So let's go back down and have a look at the questions themselves. So as you can see, there is a heading, and it's very important to read the heading for notes because it's going to help you find where the answers are. And this heading here is the Terracotta Army Complex. And I actually remember they were talking about the complex in, I believe, one of the first paragraphs, paragraph 2 or 3. So let's have a look here. The entire complex was as big as A. So when you're doing these questions, you need to, well, you don't need to, but you should try to predict the answers. So you can see here that we've got a. After a, we would have a singular noun. So we can just write that down there so we remember singular noun. So that's what we're looking for. The next one, experts are trying to find out if there are more something beneath the surface. So for this one here, it's probably a noun as well. And if you're not sure, try to put a specific type of word in there and see if it fits. So let's pretend we put the word eat in there. That's a verb, but if we read that, it doesn't make sense. If there are more eat, well, that doesn't make sense. But if we put a noun in there, maybe something like cats, there are more cats beneath the surface, well, that makes sense. So we know that the answer for this one is a noun, and it's probably a plural noun. So let's move on now to question 23. How small the passages were probably made it harder for something to get inside. Well, after 4, we would probably have a noun. Let's go to 24 now. It says the something was not made known. So after the, we normally have a noun as well. So it looks like with all of these questions, we're looking for a noun. So now let's go and find the actual answers. So to find the answers, you need to know what you're looking for, obviously. So let's start with the first one. The complex was as big as A. Okay, so that's pretty simple. We're looking for the army complex, and we're looking for as big as A. And remember, we're looking for a noun as well. So let's have a look. Here we go. It's right here, Terracotta Army Complex. So let's read it together. Now, I was actually wrong. I thought it was in paragraph B or C, but that's okay. We found where it is. And it was the size of a small city. Okay, there we go. There's the answer. Okay, the size of a small city, or as big as a city. Now remember, we just need one word and we need a noun. So the correct answer there would be, sorry, let me write that again a bit neater. The correct answer would be city. Now, we couldn't say small city because look here, it says one word only, okay? One word only. Let's keep reading. Let's look at the next question. In the pits, okay, that's important. There were soldiers, other figures and weapons, okay? Experts are trying to find out if there are more something beneath the surface. Okay, so we're looking for, experts, they're looking for something. Is there something more beneath the surface? So let's go back up and go back to paragraph D. So the last answer was here, city. Let's keep going. The site stretches over. Our researchers, that has a similar meaning, are still investigating whether it connects to a larger underground. Okay, that's beneath the surface. Network of tunnels. There we go. That looks good. Tunnels is a noun. So let's have a look if it fits. So experts are trying to find out if there are more tunnels. Let's put that in. Beneath the surface. It looks good, and make sure you've got that S, okay? If you just put tunnel, that would be incorrect and you would not get that mark, okay? So always remember, put your S in if needed. All right, let's keep going and let's continue with the next question. How small the passages were probably made it harder or maybe difficult or challenging for something to get inside. So for this one, we're looking for a noun that's trying to get inside. So let's see if we can find that. Let's go back up to paragraph D. Okay, the pits were arranged. Okay, narrow passageways between sections acted as barriers. Okay, it says slow down. So that could be what we are looking for. And then it says intruders, okay, who were trying to enter. So it looks like intruders might be the correct answer, but let's just double check. Let's go down. Yes, we found the passages, made it harder for intruders to get inside. And again, you need to have that S. Now, just let me double check. Always double check if you have time. Yeah, who were trying to enter. Okay, so that has a very similar meaning as to get inside. All right, let's move on and go to the next one. To protect the secrecy of the burial place, the something, so noun, was not made known to all. Okay, that's an important word, all of the workers. So let's go back up and see if we can find that. So guards would have been stationed, okay, and many believe that traps, no. Protect the emperor's remains, no. Qin Shi Huang was so determined to secure his legacy that he insisted on keeping the full design, maybe that could be it, of the mausoleum a secret. Okay, even from many of those working on it. There we go. So we're looking for a noun, and it looks like design might be the noun that we're looking for. If you just have a look at the other words, mausoleum, I don't think that makes sense. Secret, no, because it talked about that, I believe. Let me just have a look. Yeah, to protect the secrecy, the design was not made known to all of the workers. Now, you might be thinking, well, why isn't mausoleum the answer? Well, that wouldn't make sense, okay? So the answer there is design. So they were the note completion questions. I think they're pretty simple if you just follow the strategy. So now let's move on to the last set of questions here. Questions, let me change to yellow, 25 to 26. Choose two letters, A to E. Okay, let me circle that one more time. Two letters. Write the correct letters in boxes 25 and 26 on your answer sheet. Which two of the following points does the writer make about Emperor Qin Shi Huang? Okay, three important things. Two, okay, you've got to talk about or choose 2 points. writer. Okay, it's about what the writer the points that the writer makes. And it's about the emperor. Okay, Emperor Qin Shi Huang. Now, if I remember correctly, the paragraph about the emperor was paragraph B. So we can start off by looking there. So you can read these first if you want, but I think it's better to go and read the paragraph first and then think about what the paragraph is actually saying. So that's what we'll do. So let's have a look. Where was it? Here we go. Just as I thought. Okay, B was about the emperor. So let's have a look at what it actually says about the emperor. So it says that he was the first emperor, okay? Before his reign, rulers were buried in smaller, simpler tombs that followed local traditions. So this could be important. After taking power, Qin Shi Huang ordered the creation. That could be important as well, because it was actually him who ordered the creation of a permanent resting place that would reflect his status and authority. His most trusted officials, that could be important. His officials are believed to have overseen the planning and construction. That just means they managed the planning and construction. Instead of using traditional burial items, the emperor ordered a vast army of life-sized clay figures. So that's sort of saying that he didn't follow what other emperors were doing or other rulers were doing, because it said instead of using traditional to be placed underground, arranged as if ready for battle. Though historians cannot say with certainty, that could be important. Historians can't say with certainty, they're not 100% sure about why this idea was chosen. Many believe it was meant to ensure protection and power in the afterlife. So we've got some basic ideas about the emperor now. So let's go back and see if we can find the two correct points. And when we're doing this, we can simply use the process of elimination. So we can look at the 2 points here, and we can choose which ones are correct and which ones are not correct. So the first one says he didn't follow the usual traditions. Well, I think that's exactly what the passage said, because it said instead of using traditional burial items, he. So I think that A is definitely the answer, or one of the answers. His decision to include warriors in his tomb was influenced by his officials. Well, it does talk about his officials, but it doesn't talk about including warriors being influenced by his officials. It just said that they were or had some role in the planning and construction. It doesn't specifically say include warriors. Okay, so just be careful. So B is not the answer. Let's move on to C now. Actually, let me change the color. Historians aren't completely sure why he made the terracotta army. Well, if you remember, that's exactly what it said. It said historians are not completely sure. Okay, so we can circle that one. C looks good. Now, even though we have found the two correct answers, just quickly check the other ones just in case, especially if you have time. So let's look at the next one, which talks about his tomb. His tomb was designed by immediate family members. Well, no, it doesn't say anything about immediate family members in that paragraph. And let's move on to the last one now, which is E. He criticized the design and construction of previous tombs. Well, it doesn't say that. Oh, sorry, I'll cross out D. It doesn't say that. It does talk about previous tombs, but it doesn't say anything about he criticized, so we can cross out E. So that was passage 2. If you haven't seen the lesson for passage 1, you can check that out right here. And when it's ready, passage 3 will be right here. Thanks for watching. Take care and all the best with your studies.
Arsene Wenger.
Welcome to the final passage of the IELTS reading test, and it's usually the hardest. The language is more academic, the ideas are more complex, and time pressure can really start to build. In this video, I'm going to walk you through a full passage 3 step by step, and I'm going to show you exactly how to approach some of the toughest question types you might face, especially multiple choice and matching features. But before we get started, if you are preparing for IELTS, make sure you check out our preparation course in the description below, because it's going to teach you everything you need to know to get a band 7 or higher in every single part. All right, let's have a look at our reading passage 3. On the screen now, you can see our passage 3. It's called Technology and the Changing Workplace. Now, let's go straight down to the questions. We won't waste any time. So here they are, questions 27 to 30. Choose the correct letter, A, B, or C. Write the correct letter in boxes 27 to 30 on your answer sheet. So the first thing that you should notice there is it says write the correct letter. Okay, so when you're writing your answer, you just need to write the letter. You don't need to write the full option that you think is correct. So let's have a look at the first one. The first paragraph tells us about. So whenever you get something like this, the first paragraph, the second paragraph, that's obviously really good because it tells you exactly where you need to look to find the answer. Now, when you're doing multiple choice, I would recommend that you just quickly read the options and get an overall idea of what each option is about. So let's quickly do that. The percentage of roles that will be entirely automated by AI. Okay, let's look at B now. The growing influence of technology in creative industries. Why workers are concerned about being replaced by technology. And then finally, the predicted impact of AI on employment in the coming years, so in the future. So now we've read the options and we know exactly where to look. So let's go up to the first paragraph and we will see if we can find the answer. So recent studies estimate that 10 to 20% of jobs around the world could either disappear or change significantly within the next decade. So this sentence here looks like it could be talking about the future of work. So let's keep reading. As artificial intelligence becomes more advanced, it's being used in more industries, okay? In manufacturing, okay, so we're giving an example. Smart robots are improving production speed, while in offices, AI tools help companies sort through large amounts of data, okay? These developments, okay, suggest that workers in many sectors may need to adapt to stay employable in the changing job market. So it looks like this paragraph is talking about the impact of technology. There are a few specific examples, like we've got here, manufacturing and offices. So let's go back down to the options and we'll choose the best one. So let's start with number 1. The percentage of roles that will be entirely, that's the key, or that's our keyword there, entirely automated by AI. Or it does talk about some percentages, but it doesn't say entirely automated by AI. So we can remove A. Next one, the growing influence of technology in creative industries. Well, it does talk about some industries. It said manufacturing and in offices, but it doesn't talk about creative industries. So we can remove that one. C, why workers are concerned about being replaced by technology. Well, no, it doesn't say anything about that. So we can remove C. And then let's have a look at D, the predicted impact of AI on employment in the coming years. Yes, that looks good because that's what it talks about. So that's how you should do multiple choice questions. So let's move on to the next one now, which is 28. According to the second paragraph. Again, this is really good because now we know exactly where to look. What does Professor Naomi Fields? Again, this is also good because we know exactly who to look for. Suggest about the use of digital tools. So again, let's just very quickly have a look at the options. They can now complete tasks that once required, so in the past, once required highly trained professionals. They are most effective in industries that involve physical work. They are limited to organizing large amounts of information. So limited to, that just means only. So they can only organize large amounts of information. And the last one there is they reduce the need for human workers in factories. So let's go back up and we'll see if we can find the answer. Remember, we're looking for the second paragraph and Professor Naomi Fields. So let's scroll back up here, get to the second paragraph. So you can see that it says her name straight away, Professor Naomi Fields. She says that digital tools are already transforming jobs that rely on expert judgment rather than physical labor. So what this is saying is that this is having an effect on jobs that require expert judgment or thinking rather than or not physical labor. So it's not affecting physical labor. Let's just keep reading and see what else it says. These tools are now capable of learning, okay, from huge amounts of data that that used to be carried out by specialists. Some advanced systems now review applications, okay, evaluate employee performance, or analyze consumer behavior to help organizations make important decisions. So it's just giving a few examples there. So let's go back down and we'll choose the correct answer through the process of elimination. So we will remove the incorrect answers. So they can now complete tasks that once required highly trained professionals. Well, that looks good already because that's what it was saying. So we can circle that one. Looks pretty good. B, they are most effective in industries that involve physical work. Well, no, that's the opposite of what it said. So we can cross that one out. C, they are limited to organizing large amounts of information. Well, no, that's not true. It does not say they can only organize large amounts of information. D, they reduce the need for human workers in factories. Well, no, it doesn't say anything about that. So we can cross out that last option D. So the answer there must be A. All right, so let's move on to question 29 now. What did Professor Fields observe at the marketing company? So again, this is making it very clear what we need to look for. So that's great. Now let's quickly look at the potential options. An algorithm gave staff instructions about how to interact with clients, okay? Staff began choosing how to approach customers on their own, okay? The company used an algorithm to monitor employee performance. And finally, managers encouraged staff to ignore digital instructions. So let's go back up and see if we can find that. Remember, we're looking for Professor Fields and we're looking for a marketing company. So let's go back up and we'll keep looking for the answer here. So in some situations, AI, no, nothing there. Many companies, no. More reliable, no. These tools comes with challenges, no, no. No, nothing there about a company. Now, another concern is the influence, okay? Professor Fields, okay, spent more than 2 years studying, here we go, the internal operations of a large marketing company. So we found our keywords. So now let's slow down and we'll see what the actual paragraph says about this topic. So it says, in the past, sales staff and managers relied on personal judgment. But during my time at the company, there's that word algorithm. If you remember, that's what some of the options mentioned. So told them when to reach out to clients, what approach to take, and what type of products to offer. Okay, now let's just quickly keep reading because we don't know if the answer might be a bit further down. So Field explains that the system are often created by outside developers. That might be important. Ends up holding most of the knowledge. Okay. Over time, People start relying too heavily on what the systems tell them, learning to see things through its perspective. This growing independence can prevent workers from trying new things. Da, 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 da. Okay. Fields and her team even noticed finding ways to manipulate the system. So that could be important as well. And then it sort of goes on to a new topic. So let's go back to the question now, and we'll choose the correct answer. So letter A, an algorithm gave staff instructions about how to interact with clients. Well, yes, the algorithm did do that. So we can circle that. That looks good. B, staff began choosing how to approach customers on their own. No, didn't say anything about that. It said the opposite. C, the company used an algorithm to monitor employee performance. Well, no, it doesn't say anything about monitoring, how the employees went or what they were doing. And finally, managers encouraged staff to ignore digital instructions. Well, I do remember seeing the word manager, but it didn't say anything about encouraging staff to, not follow or, ignore digital instructions. So we can cross that one out. So it looks like 29 is A. Let's move on to 30. In her recently published study, Dr. Olivia Chen. Okay, fantastic. It's telling us exactly where to look. We need to look for Dr. Olivia Chen, and we need to look for her study. So let's quickly look at the options. A, argues that job losses are unavoidable during times of technological change. Okay, claims that automation will create more problems than it solves. Okay, illustrates how job losses can be handled. Okay, suggests that governments are already doing enough. Okay, so governments already doing enough protect workers. So let's go up and let's see if we can find the study by Dr. Olivia Chen. So let's start here. So situations like this, no. Fields, no. Okay. Professor Daniel Reyes, an economist, no. Reyes predicts, no. Professor Reyes, no, 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 no. Ah, here we go. Dr. Olivia Chen, here she is. So a researcher at the Institute for Economic Policy agrees that predictions, da, 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 da. She argues, da, 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 da. Nothing about a study. Let's keep going. Ah, here we go. Her recently published study, let's keep reading, explores whether automation, there's automation that was mentioned in the options, and AI will lead to widespread unemployment. History shows that job losses can happen during times of change, can happen, so it's possible. But strong policies such as can address this and reduce the impact. She adds, if automation is going to reshape jobs, I hope governments use this chance. If you remember, one of the options was talking about governments. So let's just quickly check this. Strengthen employment laws, create more secure conditions for workers. Okay. She continues, we have the tools, so we need to use them. Okay. Chen's research calls on leaders in business and public policy to act early and introduce reform. A reform is a change, and it normally makes things better. Okay, I think that's it. So let's go down back to 30 and see if we can find the correct answer. So A argues that job losses are unavoidable during times of technological change. Well, Olivia Chen does talk about that, but she doesn't say they're unavoidable. She says they can happen. So that one is not correct. She does not say they are unavoidable. B claims that automation will create more problems than it solves. Well, she does talk about automation, but she doesn't say it's going to create more problems than it solves. C illustrates how job losses can be handled. Well, I remember something about that. So let's just quickly double check. She says, here it is. Strong policies can address this. Okay, so she's talking about how this problem can be dealt with or handled. So I think C looks good. D suggests that governments are already doing enough to protect workers? Well, she talks about governments, but she does not say they are already doing enough to protect workers. So we can remove D. So there you go. They were the multiple choice questions. Now let's move on to the next set of questions. Here they are, questions 31 to 34. All right, so let's read the instructions. They say, complete the summary using the list of words A to G below. Write the correct letter A to G in boxes 31 to 34 on your answer sheet. So note here, it says write the correct letter. So that means when you choose your answer, you don't need to write the word itself. You just need to write the letter. So as you can see, here is the summary itself. And there are some blanks, 31, 32, 33, and 34. Your job is to choose the correct word from this list here for each of the gaps or each of the blanks. So let's start by looking at the title. And this is really important because it's going to help you to know where to look for the answers. The title says Digital Tools in the Workplace. And if you remember, I think it was Professor Naomi Fields who was talking about this in paragraph 2. So we already know where to look for the answer. So let's have a look at this first sentence here and we'll talk about it. So Professor Naomi Fields has seen that digital tools are affecting occupations which require. So in the text, we're going to be looking for digital tools, of course, and we're going to be looking for how they have been affecting certain occupations or certain jobs which require or which need. So let's go to the top of the passage. I believe it was the second paragraph where Naomi talks about this. And yes, I can see it already. Digital tools. So let's quickly have a read and we'll see what we can find. So Professor Naomi Fields from the University of Toronto argues that digital tools are already transforming jobs. Okay, that has a similar meaning to affecting occupations that rely on or need expert judgment rather than physical labor. So the answer could be right here, and I think it is. So if you think about what she has, or what the passage has just said, how could you paraphrase that in your own words? What's another way to say that? Especially this bit here, relying on expert judgment. Well, when I think about that, I think it's saying that it's affecting jobs that need experience, because that's another way to say expert judgment. So now we've read the passage and we've thought about a paraphrase. Well, we can come back down to the questions and we can choose the best answer. So let's have a look at them one by one. First one, stress. Well, no, it doesn't say anything about affecting jobs that require stress. Comfort, no. Upgrade, no. Experience, yes, maybe. Creativity, no. Approval, no. And dependence, no. So the best answer there would have to be experience. Now, please note, I'm writing the full word just so you can see what it looks like in the sentence. Obviously, in the real test, you just need to write the letter. So we can cross out experience now because we've used that one already. So now let's continue and we'll find the next one. So it says, while studying a marketing company. Okay, that sounds familiar. We've already looked at that before. Fields found that employees were showing an increasing, so something is going up, something is becoming more, something on the system's recommendations, and used its way of thinking. So now we know what to look for. Let's go back up to the passage and find that marketing company. And I believe that was towards the end of the first page. So let's have a look. There we go, right there. Okay, large marketing company. So we know where to look. So let's have a quick read and see what it says. So Professor Fields spent more than 2 years studying, how employees, that was one of the keywords there. So in the past, sales staff and managers, but during my time at the company, I saw, an algorithm tells the workers what to do and when to do it. Okay, let's keep going. Fields explains that the system created by outside developers, okay, holds the knowledge, fair enough. People start, relying too heavily on what the system tells them, learning to see things only through its perspective. This sort of sounds similar to the end of the sentence in the summary. So if we have a look at that sentence there, which starts with over time, well, try and think about a different way to say that. How could you paraphrase that in your own words? So remember the summary said something is increasing. Well, I think that's talking about this thing here, or this part here, sorry. It says people start relying too heavily on ... So maybe another word for relying could be dependence or depending. So they are depending. They need that thing, or they need that algorithm, or they need that system. It's a necessity for them. So let's go back down and see if we can find the best word. So stress, well, no, doesn't say anything about stress, so that's not right. Comfort, no, doesn't say that. Upgrade, no. Creativity, no. Approval, no. Dependence, yes, it does talk about dependence, but it says reliance. So we can cross that off and we can put the word dependence in there. Now, always just quickly have a read after you put the word into the space, just to check that everything's okay. So Fields found that employees were showing an increasing dependence on the system's recommendation and used its way of thinking. Yeah, that looks good. That looks like it fits. So let's continue to the next one now. At the same time, workers may be discouraged from using their own something, which is important for coming up with new ideas. So what that's saying there is that workers might not be using something, and this is stopping them, or it's important, for them to use that thing to create new ideas. So maybe something to do with creativity or innovation. So let's go back up and we'll see if we can find it. So let's start from where the previous answer was located, or which is right here. So let's read it together. This growing dependence can prevent workers. Okay, that sounds sort of like what they said in the summary, from trying new approaches or thinking independently, which are often key or important to advancement and innovation. So now we know that the answer is probably here. So we need to paraphrase it. We need to explain this in our own words. So what I'm thinking is that it's stopping employees from innovation, like it says here, and maybe it's talking about creativity because it's not allowing them to think of their own ideas. So let's go back down and we'll see if we can find the answer. So let's start from the top there. It says stress. No, it doesn't talk about stress. And think about it. If you put the word stress here, it wouldn't make sense as well. Comfort. No, doesn't talk about comfort. Upgrade. No. Creativity. Yeah, that looks good. Approval. No. So we can cross out creativity and we can put that in there. Creativity. And again, just quickly check it. So workers may be discouraged from using their own creativity, which is important for coming up with new ideas. Yes, that looks good, and it sounds very similar to what we just read up above. Let's look at the last one now, which is 34. To stop the issues that Fields witnessed, experts are working to make AI systems that users can use with greater or more. So we're looking for stopping something, and we're looking for making AI systems that might help users with something. So let's go back up and we'll see if we can find the answer there. So let's start from where we finished before, which was around here. They're often key. Okay, let's keep going. Fields and her team noticed employees finding a way to manipulate. No, nothing there. We've seen examples. No. Situations like this are what are okay. So this could be important, trying to avoid. They want to design, okay, AI tools that people can use without confusion. So without confusion and feel at ease with, especially when those tools help make decisions. For now, we need to think carefully. Da, 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 da. Okay, so the answer's probably here. So let's try and paraphrase this bit here. So it seems like they're trying to make AI tools that users can trust or that users can have confidence in when they're actually using them. Because look here, it says feel at ease. If you feel at ease, you probably feel comfortable using something. You might feel relaxed using something. So let's go back down now and we'll see which word is the best choice. So again, start from the top. Stress, no. Comfort, okay, maybe. Upgrades, no. Approval, no. So it looks like comfort would be the correct answer there. Comfort. Now let's just double check. AI systems that users can use with greater comfort. Yes, that looks good. All right, so they were the completion questions. Let's go to the next set of questions now. So questions 35 to 40. Look at the following statements, okay? Questions 35 to 40 and the list of people below. Match each statement with the correct person, A, B, or C. Write the correct letter, A, B, or C, in boxes 35 to 40 on your answer sheet. NB, you may use any letter more than once. So just a few things to mention there. The first one is, again, it says write the correct letter. So when you choose your answer, write the letter, not the name of the person. Also note here, it says you can use any letter more than once. Because if you look here, there are 6 questions here, but there are only 3 people. Okay, so you can use each letter for each person more than once. Now, when you get this type of question, I recommend that you quickly have a look at the statements. Think about how to paraphrase them or think about how to say them in your own words. Then start with the first person, find out what they say, then go to the second person and the third person. So let's do that right now very quickly. Let's look at 35. Workers will have a less traditional career path than before, okay? Rules should be changed in order to make to make sure employees are treated fairly. Sorry, let me just highlight the keywords. A less traditional career path. This one here, rules should be changed, employees treated fairly. Changes in technology have caused job cuts in the past. So the keywords there will be changes in technology caused job cuts past. Next one, people need to consider how AI affects jobs. Okay. Next one, 39, more automation. Okay, will not necessarily reduce the total number of jobs available. And last one there, 40, AI offers various advantages that make it attractive to companies. So obviously one of the key parts there is AI, advantages, and attractive to companies. So now we've quickly had a look at the statements. Now we can start with the first person, and the first person is Naomi Fields. So let's go back to the very top of the passage and we'll quickly see what she says. Because if you remember, I believe the first mention of her was in paragraph 2. Okay, so let's quickly have a look at what she says. She talks about transforming jobs. We've had a look at that before. The tools are capable of learning. Okay, fair enough. Some systems review applications. Fair enough. Okay, in some situations,
Before I
AI
leave
and
this
digital
team,
tools are
I had to leave
proving
you
to be
something to
more
remember me
effective
by.
than people. Okay, many companies are drawn to them. Let me highlight that. Many companies are drawn to them because if you remember, one of the statements was something about companies and advantages. So this could be where one of the answers is. They believe decisions made by machines are more reliable, and they're looking to lower costs and increase performance. Well, they're two advantages. So it looks like Naomi is the person who has said this. Now let's keep going. These tools come with challenges too. Okay, if software does this, da, da, da. In the past, people learned quietly, okay, without that kind of exposure. Okay, nothing really important there. Another concern is the influence, okay? Spent more 2 years, da da da. Okay, but during my time, I saw the algorithm, okay? Fields explains that the system created by outside developers, okay? People rely too heavily, yeah. This growing dependence, okay? We've already had quite a good look at that, so we can keep going. Fields and her team even noticed employees finding a way to manipulate, okay? Okay, nothing important there. Situations like this, they're trying to avoid, okay? For now, Fields says we need to think carefully. Okay. If you remember, there was a question which said something like people need to think about, I can't remember what it said, the problems with AI, something like that. So this could be it. This new era and technology present, particularly when it comes to professional expertise, job responsibilities, and control in the workplace. And then it goes on to the next person. So let's quickly go back down and we'll see which statements relate to Naomi. So first one, less traditional career path. No, it doesn't say anything, or she didn't say anything about that. Rules should be changed. No, it doesn't talk about that. Changes in technology have caused job cuts in the past. No. 38, people need to consider how AI affects jobs. Yes, that was the one we saw last. Okay, so we can put A there for Naomi. Number 39, more automation. Well, no, there was nothing about that. AI offers advantages that make it attractive to companies. Yes, because we found that on the first page in one of the, I think it was the third paragraph. So we can put A there. So we'll cross off 40, cross off 38. So we've done Naomi. Now let's move on to Daniel Reyes. So let's go back up and we'll see if we can find where he was. I believe he was on the second page. There we go. Okay, Daniel Reyes. An economist believes the idea of a straightforward career path. Okay, that could be something about, I think it was the first one, which talked about not having a traditional career path, something like that. So the old model is no longer realistic. Okay? So Reyes predicts that future workers will have several career shifts.
Before I leave this
So it
team,
looks like
I had to leave you something to
this will
remember
be
me
the
by.
answer for number, I think it was the first one, 35. He describes this as a part of a flexible journey. Okay. When it comes to automation, okay, there was a statement which talked about automation. Professor Reyes believes that many concerns are based on a misunderstanding, okay? People often assume that the number of jobs stays the same. Sorry, he says, but that's rarely true, okay? If in 20 years, okay, he just gives some details. And then it goes to Olivia Chen. So we can go back down and we'll see which statements relate to Daniel. So let's have a look at the first one. Workers will have a less traditional career path than before. Yes, absolutely. So we can put B there. He definitely talks about that. Rules should be changed. No. Changes in technology have caused job cuts in the past. No. More automation will not necessarily reduce the total number of jobs available. Yes, he does talk about that. So we can cross off 35 and we can cross off 39. Now, and we'll tick Daniel Reyes as done. Now, if this was the real test and you're about to run out of time, well, for 36 and 37, you could just quickly write C. But if you do have time, just quickly check, because when you're under pressure, when you're trying to do things quickly, you may make mistakes. So just quickly check, and that's what we'll do now, because this is obviously not a real test and we don't have the issue of time pressure. So let's have a look at Olivia Chen. What did she say? So let's go up here. Here we go. So let me get my highlighter. Okay, so Dr. Olivia Chen. Predictions about mass unemployment are often exaggerated or maybe not 100% correct. It's not technology that takes jobs, it's outdated policies. Okay? It's not technology that causes job losses. Okay? Let's keep going. She talks about automation as well. Okay. AI will lead to widespread unemployment. History shows that job losses can happen during times of change, but strong policies such as retraining can address this. Okay. She adds, if automation is going to reshape jobs, I hope governments, can use this chance to strengthen laws or maybe change laws to create more secure conditions for workers. Well, that was what one of these statements was about. So Chen's research calls on leaders in business and public policy to act, to do something, to introduce reforms. We talked about that. That's when you change something, normally for the better. Workers' rights, fair wages, and ensure the benefits. Okay, the possibilities offered are incredible. The changes, this major shift could completely redefine how we work, live, and communicate. Okay, so let's go back. And let's have a look. So, rules should be changed. Yes, she definitely says that because she talks about reform and strengthening things. And 37, changes in technology have caused job cuts in the past. Yes, she did talk about that. So that was passage 3. If you haven't seen the lesson for passage 1, you can check it out right here. And passage 2 is right here. Thanks.
I researched the most popular reading tips and tricks so that you don't have to. I'm going to show you exactly what the British Council and IDP have to say about these very, very popular reading tricks. And I'm also going to show you exactly how to use them and show you if they lower your score or improve your score. So without further ado, let's get into it. Let's start off with one of the good ones. So if you type into YouTube IELTS reading tips and tricks, the first video that comes up is this one, 15 reading tips for IELTS academic. This is by E2 IELTS and has more than 500,000 views at this time. Now their first tip is the most important one. Their first tip says, understand the 11 different question types. Well, is this actually correct? Will you get more than 10 different types of question on the reading test? So if we go to the IDP website, they have an article on there called Question Types in the Academic Reading Test. And it takes you through all of the different types of tasks, types of questions that you might get. So this is actually true. And being aware of these different types of questions is absolutely essential. You could also go onto the British Council website, and on there you will find teaching plans made for teachers by very, very experienced British Council teachers. And the interesting thing about this article is they have separate lesson plans for each different type of question. And what it states here on the British Council website is that each question is testing different sub-skills. This is why they ask you a range of questions. They're not doing it because the people that write the tests are horrible people that want to annoy you. It's because they want to test a range of different reading skills, and that is a far more accurate and reliable way to test someone's reading. And this is really the big difference between high quality, experienced, qualified teachers and maybe your local teacher with little to no experience. When I was teaching at the British Council, this is the way that we taught reading. We had separate classes for true, false, not given, or matching headings, or multiple choice. It was a different lesson plan, a different class. Whereas you will see in this video, less experienced teachers will generally teach just one strategy for all types of questions. And we'll see later on in the video if this is a good idea or a bad idea. So why is it important to be aware of the different types of question that might come up on the reading test? This is summarized perfectly by Pauline Cullen on the Cambridge website. Pauline Cullen literally wrote the book on IELTS, And what she says about this is every question has one clear purpose: to force you to use specific reading skills. In other words, each question is forcing you to do different things. Therefore, you need to be aware of that, but most importantly, have a separate strategy for each of the different types of questions. So if you have 11 different types of questions, you should have 11 different strategies. That sounds like a lot of work, but don't worry, I will give you access to a video for free at the end of this video that will give you access to all of our step-by-step strategies for all reading questions. One of the most popular videos on YouTube is one by IELTS Liz called IELTS Reading Tips, True, False, Not Given. And this video has 5.1 million views at the time of recording. Now, what students want to know when it comes to tips and tricks for true, false, not given is some kind of tip or a trick that will help them understand the difference between true, false, and not given. And in this video, Liz puts it perfectly. What she says is, if it is true, the statement agrees with the information. If it is false, the statement contradicts the information. And if it is not given, there is no information on this. And Liz posted this 8 years ago, and that test has not changed since she posted this nearly a decade ago. You will also find the exact same information on the IDP website in their article, IELTS Reading Test, True, False, Not Given, Explained. It states the exact same thing. So if Liz is stating it very, very clearly, and IDP are telling you what it means very, very clearly, why do students still struggle with this? Well, the answer was revealed as I was doing my research for this video. So what I did was put into the search bar, IELTS Reading, True, False, Not Given, Tips and Tricks. And the videos that come up show you exactly why students struggle with this. So you'll see very easy method, the essential tricks, the magic way, magic tricks, 100% true tips, secret tips. The truth is, there are no magic tricks. The real reason why you struggle with true, false, not given is because you're watching clickbait video after clickbait video after clickbait video, all telling you the same thing that you could have understood in 5 seconds by looking at Liz's video. True, false, not given are not actually difficult. What is difficult is that you keep watching and consuming all of this information and your brain is just completely overloaded and confused. And if on test day your brain is confused, then everything else will be confused. You are going to really struggle with the writing test because you are watching all of these fake gurus' videos. If you want me just to simplify this for you, again, at the end of this video, I'll give you a step-by-step system that you can use for true, false, not given questions that has resulted in a huge number of our students getting a band 9. The next tip is just having one overall strategy that will help you magically find the answer to any question. And you'll often find that in videos like this. IELTS Reading Tips and Tricks, How I Got a Band 8. So you'll see lots of people who got a band 8 or 8.5 or 7.5 on the real test, and they'll reveal how they did it. So the first thing that we need to think about is a band 8 actually impressive on the writing test? So I'm not going to give you my opinion, I'm just going to show you data. So if we look at official data from IELTS.org, you will see that the average reading score for a range of different countries is actually very close to a band 8. The average reading score for a German speaker is 7.74, a Greek speaker 7.37, and an Indonesian speaker 6.95. Now remember, these are average scores. These are not scores from people who call themselves IELTS experts. So band 8 in the reading test is slightly above average for the average person. To any intelligent person, if you show them that data, they will think, I shouldn't listen to this person, that their strategy probably doesn't work. But is that actually true? Am I being unfair to these teachers? Well, let's have a look at exactly what they say about their own strategy. In this video with 2.3 million views, they say, usually I read the first question and then I start quickly reading the text not paying attention to any detail, and when I feel, okay, the answer is somehow here, I slow down. I carefully read the sentence, I read the second question, I resume reading the text. This strategy allows me to finish my reading section much more quickly. So is this incredibly vague strategy actually helpful? Well, we need to go back to the first part of the video where we showed you that at the British Council, they have separate lesson plans for each different type of question. Why do the experienced professional teachers at the British Council do that, but people showing you how they got a band 8 on YouTube do it the opposite way? They have one strategy for all types of questions. So let me demonstrate exactly what you should do using real questions. So this is a matching headings question where they give you a list of headings and they give you the text. So we first need to think about what skills are being tested. What sub-skills are being tested? Well, the main thing that they're testing with matching headings questions is, can you understand the main idea of each paragraph? That is why they are asking you to match headings, because they're testing that sub-skill. Can you look at a text and understand the general meaning of each paragraph? And let's compare that with a true, false, not given question. In a true, false, not given question, they are testing very, very different things. They are testing your ability not to read generally and understand the general meaning. They are testing your ability to read much more carefully, to scan and find the location of the correct answer, and then read very, very carefully in order to understand specific information within sentences and paragraphs. So completely different questions that require completely different strategies. Let me show you. For a matching headings question, because they are testing your ability to understand the general meaning of the paragraphs, that should be your main focus. If you focus in on the headings, you're wasting your time and you're going to get very, very confused. So what you should do first is read the paragraphs. You should not look at the headings until you read the paragraphs. True, false, not given is the opposite. You need to understand specific information, and then you need to scan where in the passage is the correct information and then focus in on that. So you should do the opposite. You should read the questions first. So anyone that tells you that you should just read and see how you feel, and then when you feel something you should slow down and then have a look, and that will help you, they are demonstrating that they don't know what they're doing, not that they do know what they're doing. If they really knew what they were doing, they would get a band 9. So never listen to anyone who teaches you one strategy for all the different types of questions. And especially do not listen to anyone who tells you just skim and scan and then you'll magically find the correct answer. And that brings us on to our next tip. So skimming and scanning, you'll find this a lot on IELTS YouTube and in IELTS books and in every IELTS classroom in the world. But it is one of the most misunderstood areas of IELTS reading. To demonstrate, let's look at a video that has nearly 5 million views called IELTS Reading Top 10 Tips. Now, her first tip is don't read slowly. You should just skim to get the main idea and then scan to get detail. And then she also says don't spend too much time reading the passages. So most of the advice that you'll see on YouTube related to skimming and scanning is designed to help students get through the questions as quickly as possible. But does it actually help you improve your score? So if we go to the IDP website and look at an article there called How to Skim and Scan for Keywords in Your IELTS Test, it states, in order to help you decrease the amount of time it takes to complete the reading section of the IELTS test, you need to practice using skimming and scanning techniques. So far so good. What IDP are saying here is skimming and scanning are useful tools, useful skills to have, and they will help you. But like any tool, if I give you a hammer or a saw, they are useful, but only if you use them correctly. Again, if we go to Pauline Cullen's article on Cambridge.org, she says, every question has one clear purpose, to force you to use specific reading skills. So telling students don't read slowly and don't spend too much time reading the passages is terrible advice for two reasons. Number one, it ignores the most important IELTS reading skill, which is reading for detail. This means that when you find the location of the correct answer, you're not just skimming for general meaning and then finding the location by scanning. You then have to read in detail to understand and find the correct answer. Skimming and scanning just get you to the location. They don't help you find and establish the correct answer. When you're going to do the IELTS test, a taxi takes you to the test center, but you need to get out of that taxi and actually do the test. Telling students just skim and scan is also a terrible idea, because in some questions, you will be skimming a lot. In other questions, you won't be skimming at all. In some questions, you will be scanning a lot. They'll be testing that skill. In other questions, you will not be scanning at all. In some questions, you'll be skimming first, then scanning. In other questions, you'll be scanning first and then skimming. It completely ignores the specificity of each question type. There's two things that you can do now. Number one, you can go to this video that has all of the strategies in it. But I would also recommend this video that is going to show you how to improve and constantly improve your IELTS reading score through using techniques and strategies that actually work and have worked for thousands of our IELTS VIP students. So pick one of these. Hey everyone, Chris here from IELTSadvantage.com, and in this lesson what we're going to look at is the number one way to improve your IELTS reading scores. So many of you need high IELTS reading scores, many of you might have done the test before and your reading scores are not as high as you'd hoped for. This lesson is really going to help you. Okay, so there are many different ways that you can improve your reading scores. We're going to, in the next slide, look at the most common ones, but none of those actually help your reading scores as much as the method I'm going to share with you today. And the great thing about this method is it's free. You can do it at home by yourself. You do not need a teacher. You can do it anytime, and it is extremely effective. And way more effective than any of these, okay? So, number one, do lots of practice tests. So lots of you think that
Helen's just used Confused.com, and the weight of car insurance burdens her no more.
Mum, Helen adores you. She would love the company.
I don't like your mum.
Okay.
Insurance feels better when you've just used Confused.
We went out when we shouldn't have been out. Chase the sunrises, sunsets.
in order to get a higher IELTS reading score, just do lots of reading tests. Practice is important to a certain extent, but not nearly as important as you'd think. Doing lots and lots and lots of practice tests is not really going to improve your reading scores significantly. Why is that? Well, the analogy I always use is, I have a friend who grew up on a farm and his dad had a car, and he used to drive the car around and around and around the farm. And he failed his driving test over and over and over again. Even though he had spent hundreds and hundreds of hours behind the wheel of a car, he kept failing his test. Why is that? Because he had really bad habits. No one had ever corrected him or pointed out his bad habits. He had no idea how to actually drive a car safely. Same with doing lots and lots and lots of practice tests. If you don't actually analyze your mistakes, or no one is helping you with that, you might be doing the wrong thing and you've no idea. So the unfortunate thing about students who say things like, I've done every single practice test I can and my scores don't improve, the sad thing about that is their scores don't improve, which is sad. The sadder thing is they've just wasted their time. So don't fall into that trap of thinking that practice tests are going to work. They will help you. They are part of your preparation, but only a very, very small part. Number two, get help from a teacher. Now, a teacher is going to help you with, telling you about the different skills used, teaching you about the different types of questions, maybe give you some strategies for those questions. that is helpful. However, a teacher is not going to be able to give you direct feedback on your performance in the reading test. Why is that? So there's a big difference between writing and reading. So writing and speaking, you're producing language, so words coming out of your mouth or writing on a piece of paper, and that's something that the teacher can give you feedback on. You know, this grammar is wrong, this vocabulary is wrong, improve your structure. There's something to go on for the teacher. For reading and listening, you're receiving language, you're not producing any language. So there's nothing really for the teacher to give you feedback on. The teacher would have to physically go into your brain and see your thought processes to figure out what was actually going on. And right now we don't have the ability to do that. So a teacher can help you to a certain extent, but the technique that I'm about to show you is way more effective than even a teacher sitting beside you. Number 3, follow a strategy. So there are many different types of reading question. On my VIP course, what we do is we give each student a different strategy for each different question. And strategies are very helpful, but they are only part of the puzzle. They are only a small part of your preparation. Strategies alone are not going to fix many of the weaknesses that you have. They are good, but they're not going to fix everything. Number 4, tips and tricks do not work. All right, you're not going to automatically trick your way or read some tip and automatically become a better reader or improve your vocabulary or anything really. Tips and tricks do not work. They are very attractive because they're easy, but they do not work. Number 5, read lots of books. Now, reading is very important. If you want to get better at reading, read. All right, it's important that that is part of your preparation. But reading alone is not going to help you as much as reading consistently and using this next strategy. So this next thing that I'm going to teach you is the most effective way to improve your IELTS reading scores. And it's a 5-step process. Step 1, get some real practice tests. So tests that have been produced by Cambridge, that are real IELTS practice tests, Cambridge English, IDP, British Council. Look on those websites or buy the books, get some real practice tests. Do 2 or 3 tests. I did this lesson on Facebook and students asked what this meant, so I put this in. Do 2 or 3 tests under exam conditions. All right. Do not look at the answers. Do not look at them before you start them. Do them in the time allotted for a normal reading test. Do not cheat in any way. That is really important. If you don't do that, you've just sabotaged your preparation, your progress. Step 3, honestly correct them. So be very honest in the same way that your real IELTS test is corrected. If one letter is out of place, that is wrong. If the word is kind of the same, that's wrong. Unless it is exactly how it is in the answer key, it's wrong. So honestly correct it. Don't give yourself extra marks or cheat in any way. Step 4 is the most important part, all right? This is the part that you need to focus on the most. Analyze your mistakes. Okay, so what does that mean? That means looking at every single incorrect answer and thinking about deeply, think very deeply and take a long time. This is not wasted time. This is an investment of time. Think deeply about why you got that answer incorrect. It might be very quick if it's just a spelling mistake, but if it's something to do with strategy or vocabulary or meaning or synonyms or something like that, it will take you a long time to think about it, but it is absolutely essential that you write down the reason, and I would get a book and sit down and write each reason on a piece of paper or multiple pieces of paper, because you want to start to recognize patterns. You want to start to recognize your common weaknesses or your common mistakes, and that is where you're going to end the process, which is work on your weaknesses. So let's now look at some common weaknesses and we can talk about how to improve those. So these are just some common weaknesses. It's very rare that students need help with everything. And as I said, you're looking for patterns, all right? You're looking, for example, if 90% of your mistakes are spelling mistakes. That is a very, very important thing that you need to pick up on, because you don't need help with reading skills or vocabulary or strategy or specific questions. You just need to improve your spelling. That might sound unrealistic, but I have had students who were wonderful at reading, great reading skills, great vocabulary, but their spelling was off. And that was the reason why they were failing the reading test. But by getting them to follow that process, they were able to improve their spelling, and they had one student jump from band 5 to band 8 just by improving their spelling. Does that mean that if you improve your spelling, you're going to get a higher score? Maybe, probably not. You probably need help with something else. You are an individual. This is what the whole process is about, figuring out your individual weaknesses. So it could be that you just need help with reading, all right? You are not very good at reading in English yet. So you need to practice more reading. You need to focus on getting better at skimming, scanning, locating information within a text, and deciding meaning, deciding what the correct answer is. Number 2, vocabulary. Many of you are not failing the reading test because of reading skills. You're failing the reading test because of vocabulary. The reading test is a vocabulary test as much as it is a reading test. So vocabulary, synonyms especially, are going to help you locate the answer. So if you have a problem with time management, often the problem is not time management, the problem is vocabulary. You just can't find the words fast enough. Or if you're getting a low score, it might mean that you just don't understand the words or the difference between words. So improving your vocabulary is going to improve your scores, but you need to figure out if that is your particular weakness. Strategy. You might be really good at reading, your vocabulary is great, your spelling is great, but you're just unfamiliar with all of the different types of reading question, and you need a little bit of work on strategy. Or it could be a specific question that you have a problem with. I've had lots of students who are quite good at reading, their vocabulary is good, their strategy is good, their spelling is good, but every time they see a true, false, not given question, or a matching headings question, or a multiple choice question, or a short answer question, they get all of those questions wrong, or nearly all of them wrong. So I had a student the other day, and we went through this process, and they did 3 different tests. They did them under exam conditions, and we wrote down the reasons why they failed, and we established a pattern. The pattern was they get all their true, false, not given questions wrong, and all their matching headings questions wrong. And we spoke about it, and they said, yeah, every time I see those questions, I just panic, I can't do them, I hate them, I'm not good at them. And I said, actually, it's not that you're not good at them, you're just not good at them yet. And we need to focus on these questions. And when we focused on these questions, they went from a band 6 to a band 7.5, because these questions were their weakness. Does this mean these questions are your weakness? Maybe, maybe not. You need to carry out this process, which is free, which you can do. It's very simple, it's very straightforward, and you can then work on your weaknesses and then get the scores you need. And that is the most effective strategy for improving your reading scores. And if you do that, I pretty much guarantee that you will see an improvement. But most of you watching this will not do it. Most of you watching this are just watching YouTube, and you'll go and watch another YouTube video and expect that to help you improve. You're not going to improve by watching YouTube videos. You're going to improve by taking action, all right? This requires you to take a lot of action. That's going to take you about 30 minutes. That's going to take you 3 hours. That's going to take you another hour and a half. That's going to take you 4, 5, 6 hours. That's going to take you weeks and months to do. It's very simple, but it's not easy. But what is the alternative? The alternative is you look for tips and tricks and hacks. You fail the test. Then you look for more tips and tricks and hacks. You fail the test. Then you do that over and over and over again, and you've just wasted months of your life. You've wasted thousands of dollars when all you had to do was just put in a little bit of hard work and then you'll get the scores you need. Very, very simple, but not easy. I know it's not easy, but what was ever achieved without hard work? All right, so any questions, guys? If you have any questions, I will answer them for you. Hello, Chris, how are you? I'm very well, thank you. Please give me some more useful tips. Oh no. Tips do not work. Please give me more tips. Second person. I always get stuck between giving headings. How to improve that? Okay, 1 second. What I'll do, so you mean matching headings. So okay, so let me just make sure that I'm not getting caught up here. All right, so in the test, for matching headings questions, you're going to get a list of headings. Okay. This is a simplified version to teach this lesson. Okay, so you're going to get a list of headings, and then you're going to get the text. Okay.
Helen's just used Confused.com, and the weight of car insurance burdens her no more.
Mum, Helen adores you. She would love the company.
I don't like your mum.
Okay.
Insurance feels better when you've just used Confused.
We went out when we shouldn't have been out. Chase the sunrises, sunsets.
So the text is going to be different paragraphs. Okay, so paragraph 1, paragraph 2, paragraph 3. Okay, so when you see a matching headings question, do not look at these first, okay? Do not look at them first. Just ignore the headings completely. What you should do is then read these and do not skim them too quickly, okay? If you skim too quickly, you're just wasted your time because you haven't really learned anything. You haven't really looked at the meaning, the general meaning of these. So read these quite carefully, not in too much detail, you don't want to waste your time, but quite carefully. And the key thing is create your own heading. So if you had to create a heading for this paragraph, remember, without looking at these, what would your heading be? That is going to force you to look at it in enough detail and really think about the general meaning. So what you're going to do is create a heading, create a heading. Okay, so you're going to have headings for these paragraphs. Then, because you have created your own headings, it's going to be very, very simple for you to match these headings with these. If you do that, you'll be amazed at how many of the headings that you created are the same, exactly the same, or nearly the same as the list of headings. And how easy is that going to be to match the headings? If you've already created those headings, it becomes much easier. You still have to think about them, check the headings, especially look for headings that have similar meanings, but if you do that, it becomes much easier. So that was an extra little mini lesson on matching headings. That looks like a mess, but let's move that back. Okay, so a lot of you have decided to speak a different language from English, and I have no idea what any of you are saying, so well done. Is bad handwriting and correction in sentences reduce marks? If your handwriting is so bad that the examiner cannot read it, of course that is going to lower your marks. Not because of bad handwriting, it's because the examiner has no idea what you just put on the paper. So that is an issue. However, most of you think that untidy handwriting is going to lose you marks. No, it's not. You do not need beautiful handwriting. Do I have beautiful handwriting? No. Would I fail the test? Hopefully not. Okay, what time is it? It's 10 past. Okay, so I'll try and find another question. Okay, so there's a whole load of people speaking some language that I don't understand, so that's very difficult to find questions. If that's the case, you're free to write whatever you want, guys, but help me to help you. Okay, so since we are talking about reading, let's finish off with a reading question. So Parmveer says, how to manage my time and complete the whole reading on time. Okay, so let's look up Google for this one. So if we Google Usain Bolt, the fastest man in the world. I don't know if he's still the fastest man, but he was anyway, and he's pretty fast. Okay, let's look at some of these images for Usain Bolt finishing on the 100-meter line. Okay, so we've got Usain Bolt easily winning the race, breaking the world record, and then you have all of these guys behind him finishing second, third, fourth, fifth. Do these guys need time management tips or not? So is their problem the fact that their time management is not very good, or is it something else? Well, hopefully you answered the question. It's something else. The reason why these guys are finishing behind Usain Bolt is not because their time management needs improving. It's because they're not very good at, or not good at running compared to Usain Bolt. I nearly said that they were not good at running. They're the best in the world at running, but they're not as fast as Usain Bolt. This is a very good analogy for time management in the reading test. Most of you think that you need time management tips. You don't. You need to get better at reading. If you improve your reading skills, if you improve your vocabulary, improve your spelling, improve your strategy, practice the test, you don't need time management tips. You just need to get better at reading. Same as these guys. They do not need time management tips. They need to get better at running. They need to run faster. But against Usain Bolt, that's pretty much impossible anyway. Okay, so that's pretty much it, guys. If you need anything else, go to my website, IELTSadvantage.com. If you go to IELTSadvantage.com, you'll get all the free help that you need. If you need us to help you with your IELTS preparation, we do have a range of courses and services. Chris@IELTSadvantage.com. You can email me, and we can discuss whether you would be a suitable student for our courses. We only work with a very small number of people. I can't guarantee that I'll be able to work with you, but we can chat about it if you want to chat about it. Thank you very much. If you've enjoyed this video, subscribe so that you can get our next video, which is on Monday. And if you have any suggestions for videos, feel free to comment below and I'll look at those suggestions. Try and be as specific as possible. We'd love to hear your suggestions for future lessons. Thank you very much and see you again soon.
Hey everyone. Thank you for attending. Any questions? Put your hands up, please. Nope. Okay, well, hopefully see you tomorrow for more. All right, good night all. Thanks.
Thank you all. Thank you all consent.